The cold wind of early winter pushed through the tiny gaps of the old cafe door as Emily Parker stood frozen in place, clutching a crumpled dollar bill so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Her 3-year-old daughter, Lily, clung to her sweater, her tired blue eyes staring longingly at the display of fresh bread behind the counter. Emily hadn't eaten a real meal in 2 days. She had hoped Lily wouldn't notice, but toddlers always do. When she finally stepped forward and whispered her request for just one slice of bread, the room had suddenly gone quiet, as if the walls themselves were listening. And that was when the well-dressed man sitting alone at the table by the window noticed her, really noticed her. His eyes softened, and before she could blink, he rose from his seat and walked toward her, stopping her trembling hand with a gentle calmness she had not felt in years. She had expected pity. She had expected rejection. What she didn't expect was kindness that would change everything. If you believe kindness still exists in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps spread these stories of hope and second chances. Emily Parker had once lived a normal life, a peaceful rhythm of grocery lists, coloring books, and bedtime stories. She had once been someone who smiled without trying. But all of that vanished the night her husband, Mark, was taken by a drunk driver while driving home from a late shift. For Emily, grief had not been a wave but an avalanche, sudden, suffocating, and leaving her buried under bills, loneliness, and the crushing weight of raising Lily alone. She had tried everything, late-night cleaning jobs, begging her landlord for extensions, selling furniture piece by piece. But eventually, everything ran out. The last of her savings went to Lily's medical appointment a week ago when the toddler caught a chest infection. Emily hadn't even allowed herself the luxury of coughing around her daughter, afraid Lily would imitate it. And now, with nothing left but a few coins and one crumpled dollar, she had walked into the cafe praying no one would look at her too closely. The cafe was warm, smelling of fresh bread and roasted coffee, a painful contrast to the freezing streets outside. Emily had hesitated before walking in, telling herself she wasn't there to enjoy anything, she was simply desperate enough to ask for a single slice of bread, just enough to get Lily through the day. She had counted the price a dozen times. One slice was all she could afford. And even that felt like theft when she saw the cashier's surprised expression. Across the room, Gabriel Reeves, the man in the tailored charcoal suit, watched the scene unfold. Gabriel wasn't just any customer, he was the CEO of Reeves Tech, a widely admired but reclusive single father who rarely went anywhere without purpose. Today, though, he had slipped away from his glass-walled office for some quiet. He had been carrying the invisible weight of raising his son, Noah, alone after his wife passed from cancer 2 years ago. People admired his strength, but they didn't see the nights he spent awake, fighting tears in the dark while his son slept. They didn't see how exhaustion carved itself into his heart like a permanent scar. Gabriel knew pain. And because of that, he recognized it instantly when he saw Emily. He saw the way she held herself, her shoulders curled inward as if the world had been hitting her for too long. He saw the way she tried to hide the trembling in her hands. And his chest tightened when he saw the child in her arms, staring at the food with that silent, hungry longing he knew all too well. Emily reminded him of someone drowning quietly in the middle of a crowded room. Gabriel stood and approached her just as the cashier's uncomfortable pause stretched on. That was when he reached out, not with judgment, but with a gentleness that stunned her, and placed his hand over hers, lowering the dollar she was trying so desperately to offer. Emily's heart raced, unsure whether she should run, apologize, or cry. She expected him to tell her she was holding up the line, or that she didn't belong in a cafe like this. Instead, he motioned toward the table he had just been sitting at. Emily stared at him, confused and overwhelmed, the world spinning as she tried to understand why a stranger would care. Gabriel guided her to sit, and the cafe suddenly felt different, less like a place she didn't belong and more like a refuge she had desperately needed. He ordered warm soup, sandwiches, fruit, and a small cup of hot chocolate for Lily. Emily's throat tightened when she watched the plate of food being set in front of her. She felt both grateful and ashamed, torn between the instinct to feed her daughter and the fear of accepting too much from someone she didn't know. As Lily reached for a piece of bread with small, shaking hands, Gabriel felt something shift inside him. He had lived a life of wealth, cars, offices, employees, meetings, but in that moment, none of it mattered compared to the sight of a hungry child finding comfort in a simple meal. Emily watched Lily eat as if she had been starving for days, which she almost had. That sight alone broke something in Gabriel's heart. Emily finally began eating, but each bite felt heavy. She had lived with hunger long enough to get used to it, but generosity, that was something she no longer knew how to accept. She didn't know what to say, so she said nothing at all. Gabriel didn't force conversation. He simply stayed, offering quiet company, letting her breathe. Outside the cafe window, snowflakes drifted gently, the world moving on in its usual way. But inside, something unexpected, something miraculous, was beginning. After the meal, Emily tried to thank him, but her voice cracked. Gabriel gently reassured her with a soft look that said she didn't owe him anything. Yet Emily felt indebted to a stranger who had seen her without judgment. Gabriel asked if she was nearby, and when she hesitated, he knew the truth, she had nowhere steady to go. The thought of her walking back into the cold with a toddler made his stomach twist with unease. Emily finally confessed that she and Lily had been staying in a shelter but were told they had to vacate by evening due to full capacity. She had no plan. No safety net. No hope left except to keep her daughter warm for another night. Gabriel listened silently, his mind racing. He remembered nights he spent in hospitals, praying to God to spare his wife, praying for strength for his son. He had once lost everything emotionally. Emily was losing everything physically. And neither deserved to keep suffering. He offered her a safe place to stay for the night, his guest house, a space separate from his main home, warm and private. Emily's eyes widened in alarm. She shook her head, gripping Lily closer, instinctively protective. But Gabriel didn't push her. He simply told her she had a choice. She could go back into the cold alone, or trust that someone was offering help without wanting anything in return. Emily closed her eyes, tears squeezing out as she whispered a small prayer. She had run out of options. She had run out of strength. And she finally nodded. The guest house was quiet, warm, and filled with small touches that showed Gabriel had thought about Lily's comfort, extra blankets, soft pillows, and a basket of snacks he had picked up on their way. Emily broke down the moment she placed Lily on the bed. Not because of despair, but because for the first time in months, she felt safe. Gabriel left them to rest, but he checked in later with a gentle knock, leaving a bag of groceries outside the door. He didn't stay. He didn't intrude. He simply offered kindness in silence, just as he wished someone had done for him when he was drowning in grief years ago. Over the next few days, Emily and Lily slowly rebuilt their strength. Gabriel introduced them to his son, Noah, who quickly bonded with Lily. The sound of children laughing slowly replaced the heartbreaking silence Emily had grown used to. Gabriel arranged small jobs for Emily in his company, not charity, but opportunities. Emily was intelligent, organized, and kind. Her resilience impressed everyone she worked with. Life didn't magically fix itself overnight, but for the first time since Mark's death, Emily felt her heartbeat steadying into hope again. Weeks later, when Gabriel invited Emily and Lily to stay for dinner with him and Noah in the main house, something profound happened. The sight of the four of them gathered around the table, 2 single parents, 2 children, felt strangely complete. Emily felt warmth she had not known in years. Gabriel felt peace he thought he would never feel again. And neither could deny the undeniable sense that this wasn't coincidence. This was grace. This was a second chance delivered quietly, gently, through kindness.